News Talk 820, WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I want to get right into it. Doge, the column that was just mentioned in the news, has been going on everywhere since they wrote it and published it in the Wall Street Journal in the past 24 hours. I also want to share with you Milton Friedman tape from back when he was live in an interview. He was talking about which departments he would get rid of, and it was like boom, 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 and he explains why. I'm going to play you some of that audio. Look at this. The federal government, nearly 90% of the federal government's office space in D.C. is going to waste. 90% of it. Second of all, you have just 12% of the space on average is what they're using at their D.C. headquarters of all the departments. Just 12% of the space. You hear that? The Department of Agriculture has space for more than 7,400 people. They have only a 6% occupancy. 6% occupancy. Are you ready to sell this off? Are you ready to make a lot of money for our government to go back in? And, well, actually, not to go back in, to go to us. I'm sorry. Let me continue here. The questions, by the way, you can chime in right now. Lines wide open at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. How much do you think they can cut? Whether you want to just say how much of the government they can cut or money, it doesn't matter to me. Which department should be eliminated or slashed to a much smaller size? Do you support closing most government departments and selling off the land and the buildings, including 30% of the United States that the government owns? And, think about it. So tell me, what could private citizens and companies do with the federal land? What can you imagine they could do? A lot better than our government would be just buying it and holding it. They own 30% of our land. How much money do you think we could make and put against our debt if we did this? Or give back to the people? Here we go. Here's part deux of their Doge column they wrote up. Our number, by the way, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227, lines wide open. In fact, critics will allege, they say, overreach, but in fact, Doge will be correcting the executive overreach of thousands of regulations promulgated by the administrative fiat that were never authorized by Congress. The president owes lawmaking deference to Congress, not to bureaucrats deep in the federal agencies. Here's another thing that was very fascinating that I have retweeted. If D.C. is our richest area per capita, that tells you how important Doge is. Look at this. Washington, D.C. per capita, $260,000. New York, 110. Massachusetts, 105. U.S. average, 81,000. But that's what they're, see where all the money is? Continuing with their article or their column. The use of executive orders will substitute for lawmaking by adding burdensome new rules is a constitutional affront. The use of executive orders to roll back regulations that wrongly bypass Congress is legitimate and necessary to comply with the Supreme Court's recent mandates. And after all these regulations are fully rescinded, a future president can't simply flip the switch and revive them, but would instead have to ask Congress to do it. See what this will do? It'll permanently destroy the massive bureaucracy of the administrative state. Isn't that amazing? So they're going to cut a big fat chunk of our government and end this onerous rules, regulations, taxation, and give the money back to the people and give the regulations back to where they belong in the garbage dump. And then any president coming in like a Joe Biden would have to go to Congress to get the money to spend it. By law, that's what the Supreme Court gave in those two decisions I cited in the last segment. Continuing, Doge will do a mass headcount. They're going to do mass headcount reductions across the federal bureaucracy. Doge intends to work with embedded appointees in agencies to identify the minimum number of employees required at each agency for it to perform its constitutionally permissible and statutorily mandated functions. Okay, this is what the Constitution says. This is what the statute says. Therefore, we're going to do this. Here's how many people we need. The rest of you are gone. Fewer employees required to enforce fewer regulations. The agency will produce fewer regulations once its scope of authority is properly limited. And they're going to treat people well. They say they're going to give them a 2-year severance package and stuff. They're not going to throw in. And they're also going to give them stuff to train them, give them different jobs, help them in any way they can. The statute allows for reductions in force, RIFs, that don't target. So here's what the statute says. If you don't target specific people, but if you do RIFs, reductions in force, that's fine. Statute allows for that. The statute further empowers the president. Trump can implement any number of rules governing the competitive service that would curtail administrative overgrowth, from large-scale firings to relocation of federal agencies out of D.C., requiring federal employees to come into the office 5 days a week, they say will result in a wave of voluntary terminations that we welcome. Think of it. If 6% of the Department of Agriculture are showing up, why not say come back in or you're out? A lot of them won't want to do it. Good. Bye. $500 billion plus, and they're saying, well, people say, where's this money going to come from? How are we going to do this? DOJ says $500 billion plus in annual federal expenditures are unauthorized by Congress. That's a $500 billion, are unauthorized by Congress, being used in ways Congress never intended, from $535 million a year to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Bye-bye, PBS. $500 million gone. To the $1.5 billion for grants to international organizations, bye-bye. $300 million to progressive groups like Planned Parenthood, gone. No more killing babies with our money. Federal contracts, many of them. Large-scale audits conducted during a temporary suspension of payments will yield significant savings. In other words, if we have massive contracts paying out $1 billion to this, $1 billion to that, which are very common. In fact, all these illegals being moved to these NGOs are funded by Joe Biden. You're looking at tens of millions to one in Colorado, 100 million to one in Colorado. I've read about these alone. So they say large-scale audits. What are they going to do? When they audit it, they're going to pause payment. You get nothing until the audit's done. At that point, we either keep you or we thwack your thing or all sorts of stuff. Make sense? Cut that payment off. Make an audit, decide. DOJ has a historic opportunity for structural reductions in the federal government. They say our top goal for DOJ is to eliminate the need for its existence by July 4th, 2026, a year and a half. The expiration date we've set for our project. There's no better birthday gift to our nation on its 250th anniversary than deliver a federal government that would make our founders proud. Isn't that great? There you go. Who couldn't cheer for this? Aren't you excited? Who thought we'd be excited about this? There it is. And Elon and Vivek are going to do a podcast every week to tell you what's going on and have people in that are doing stuff with them. That's going to be cool, too. All right, Milton Friedman was a Nobel Prize-winning economist and taught in University of Chicago for forever, I guess. Anyway, he's revered, especially by the conservatives. And Reagan and so many people. Here's a list of departments he would just destroy. I'm going to let him share or just end. And some of them he says no, and here's why. I've got the full list here, but I want to play some of Milton Friedman in his own words.
14 is a lot for television, so I want to just go right down the list quickly and have you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Keep them or abolish them. Department of Agriculture.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Commerce.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Defense.
Keep.
Keep it. Department of Education.
Abolish.
Gone. Energy.
Abolish. Except that energy ties in with the military.
Well, then we shove it under defense.
That's
the little bit that handles the nuclear,
right, that ought to go under
plutonium
defense.
And so forth goes under defense, but we abolish the rest of it. Health and Human Services.
There is room for some public health activities to prevent contagion. Such a thing as, for example...
So you'd keep the National Institutes of Health, say, and the Center for Disease Control down in
not the National Institute.
No?
Those are mostly research agencies. No. That's a question of whether the government should be involved in financing research.
And the answer is no.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, and it's not an easy answer with respect to that.
We'll eliminate half of the Department of Health and Human Services?
Like
okay, one.
Isn't this great? And this man is amazing and a genius, right? Isn't that great? Yes, something like that. And you can hear the reasoning. It's sensible, isn't it? All right, stand by. By the way, Department of Education never should have existed. Never. Had no business, had nothing. This is revolutionary what they're going to do. Now, I'm going to pause it right there. We're halfway through, and I only have halfway through his whole thing. It's a 4-minute thing. I'm going to play another minute when we come back. But also, I'm going to share the rest. I wrote it down. I took notes, and I'll share you the other departments. So we're going to talk about that coming up next. And what departments would you end? What things can you think of that should be ended? And how much do you think they could save? And again, you might just come up with a percentage of this government or the department or this or that. Or you might want to think of some numbers or anything, any idea you might have. What would you like to see cut? Think big. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. As you know, they've been hiring. And it's pretty fascinating to think about this. And you know, when you get excited, when you have Vivek and Musk doing this and saying, we want young, hard-working, you're going to be working 80-hour weeks, you're going to be working for a year and a half. This is our next, what is that project called? I can't remember now, the project for the nuke with Einstein and stuff like that. What was it called? Thank you. Gosh, I couldn't think of it. The Manhattan Project. Yeah, he's like, and they're like, this is our Manhattan Project. Now it's exciting. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Part 2 of Doge along with Milton Friedman and what he would cut. This is really cool to hear him. In fact, Musk tweeted this one out. That's where I saw it. This past couple days ago. 800-288-9227. Chris Kroc Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. All right, we're going to talk to Martin and Granbury in one sec. We're going to play the last half of Milton Friedman saying what departments he would end outright when he was interviewed about this. Here we go.
Half. There we go. Housing and Urban Development. Oh, didn't even pause over that one. Department of the Interior.
Oh, well, but Housing and Urban Development has done an enormous amount of harm. My God. If you think of the way in which they've destroyed parts of cities under the rubric of eliminating slums.
Jack Kemp.
You know, you remember Martin Anderson wrote a book on the federal bulldozer, describing the effect of the urban development. There have been many more dwelling units torn down in the name of public housing than have been built.
Jack Kemp has proposed selling to the current inhabitants of public housing their unit, their townhouse, their apartment for $1 a piece, and just shifting the ownership to the people who live in it.
If you got rid of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would be worth doing that.
All right, done. That's gone.
I love it, don't you? All right, there he is, the forerunner to Doge. And I've got a whole list here. Interior, yes. Destroy the interior, end it. Department of Interior, sell the government land, which is 1/3 of the U.S., and all the land they own with all the government buildings, also sell that off. He said from 14 departments, he would take 14 government departments and then change it down to 4.5/. He would preserve the peace, defend the country. Oh, by the way, he talks about what the department should do that should exist: preserve the peace, defend the country, and justice to adjudicate. Police local, central, justice national. Here's who he says we keep. We keep justice, as you kind of figured out there. You keep the Department of State. You keep the Department of Treasury. Gone are labor, transportation, Veterans Affairs. It's gone, but here's what he says: if you end Veteran Affairs, it's gone, but you pay off all the vets with the money from the department. You give it to them. So however the formula would be, they get all the money, and it's over. Let them be their own people to take care of themselves with the money that they are owed by our government. Very interesting. Now, your thoughts, and couple it with Doge. How much do you think they can cut? Which departments should be eliminated or slashed to a much smaller size? Do you support closing most government departments and selling off most government land and buildings, including the 30% the U.S. owns of the Department of Interior? And what could private citizens and companies do with that federal land? Think about it. How much money could we make and put up against our debt, which costs us almost $1 trillion a year? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Martin and Granbury, you are on WBAP. Hello.
Hello. I just had a couple comments. I thought I heard Department of Agriculture being gone. Is that correct?
Let's see. Good question. I think so. Go ahead.
Okay. If Department of Agriculture is gone, agriculture includes the Forest Service. and you'll have to liquidate the national forest if you don't have anybody to take care of them.
I think
Another point I might make.
Yeah, I think he was saying the Department of Interior, which owns a third of the U.S., yes, get rid of that.
Okay, wait. You're confusing the issue because
I know
agriculture owns the U.S. Forest Service. Forests belong to agriculture. Interior is the national park.
Right.
And that brings about another thing. A lot of people like the national parks for camping. Someone's got to take care of them. So you may need to leave parts of these agencies. I'm all for cutting the government, but you might want somebody to run the national parks unless you sell them all. And you might need somebody to run the forest unless you sell all the forests. One other thing they could do to save a bunch of money, right now the forests are being mismanaged because the Sierra Club sues the Forest Service, and then their lawyers, when they win, are paid by the federal government by law.
Right.
That law needs to be changed.
Well, what if you put it into private hands and, how would that affect it?
That's fine. That's fine. I think
private ownership. Private ownership would certainly do what need to be done to protect the land.
You still need some sort of national firefighting agency because we've mismanaged the forest for the last 80 to 100 years by not thinning and by excluding fire. We're not having big fires because of global warming.
I know.
Fires because we mismanaged the forest.
I know that. Yes, I agree.
And so we would need somebody that can fight those fires, either state or federal, somebody.
Yeah, and you got, he talks about preserving the peace, defending the country, justice to adjudicate, police, justice national. Obviously, whether state, local, or national fire fighting is important. So, and is imperative to our safety. So, obviously, that's a must. I appreciate your call, Martin. I appreciate your perspective. And I don't know what to say about
listening.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the federal parks or the land. I want it protected, but I mean within reason, obviously, right? Like, how much do you protect versus how much should be into private citizens' hands? You know?
Oh, absolutely. The BLM is a part of the Interior, and they could be gone.
The Bureau of Land Management. I got you. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call, brother. All right. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227 on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey, how about these FEMA workers that are telling people, no, you can't have Trump signs or we're not going to help you? There's more information on that, including other states that are seeing complaints where this happened too, according to Congressman. Also, we'll talk to Jeff from Fort Worth coming up next as well on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. All right, we got a little bit more on Doge and what departments you might want to eliminate with Jeff in Fort Worth. Then we're going to get to the latest we have on those FEMA workers because more complaints are coming in from other states that they skip people. A real sad story about an elderly couple that was told to pull signs. I'll tell you about that, and it wasn't a good ending so far, we understand. All that's coming up in a moment. But first, Jeff in Fort Worth. Hello, Jeff. You're on WBAP. What do you got?
Well, Chris, talking about the public lands and selling them to people, I think it should be a stipulation that they sell only to U.S. citizens.
Yes.
And they can only sell, and they can sell it again only to U.S. citizens.
I was thinking about that. You and I were both thinking about that because that's incredible. You know, Governor Abbott today announcing we are divesting massively and forbidding
America.
Hold on. Here's Governor Abbott. Let me share just a little bit with you on this. Here he is on Fox
Chris,
Business.
I gotta hang up.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, no, you don't hang up on me. I hang up on you. No one hangs up on me. I hang up on you, sir. Jeff, I gotta hang up on you. Okay, bye. His name was Jeff, right? I thought so. Frank, I gotta go. Bye. No, all good, my friend. All good. Thank you. All right, here's Governor Abbott. And this is important because he had an executive order he signed. Let me pull that up, too, because it's on my Twitter feed. All this is on my Twitter feed. Follow me at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock, at Chris Crock Show. Today, I directed Texas state agencies to fully divest portfolios from China. If any agency has investments in China, they're required to divest at the first available opportunity. We will protect our state and public treasury from the CCP. Here's what he said on Fox Business earlier today. Here we go.
I mean, we've had people targeted on our program that's implemented by the country of China, by the CCP, targeting people in the state of Texas. And I said that we're going to arrest anybody involved in the CCP, anybody involved in this program who's going after Texans. So we got China going after people in Texas. We got China going after our intellectual property and our universities, as well as in other areas. We have China going after our power grid. Texas has by far the largest power grid in the entire United States of America. We produce more than twice the power of the second and third states in the United States. If our power grid is shut down by the CCP, it would be totally catastrophic for the country of the United States. And then, of course, we have the largest oil field in the United States, the third largest oil field in the world. And all of these things are ways in which China could pose an extreme harm on the United States of America. We must harden our assets, harden our capabilities of fighting back against China and the CCP trying to infiltrate into the state of Texas.
Amen. That was on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business today. That's good. Absolutely. Now, let's shift some gears here. As promised, we're talking about this tonight. FEMA, we now hear that they have skipped houses elsewhere. James Comer has a whistleblower who just came forward and provided a credible account that a FEMA contractor visited the home of an elderly, disabled veterans family around October 10th. While there, the FEMA worker recommended the family remove Trump campaign materials. And he, not that woman, Marnie, what's her name? I got her right here in a sec. Marnie Washington, not her. That was in Florida. That was in Lake Placid, Florida, after Hurricanes Helene and Milton. This is, I think, similar from the hurricanes, October 10th. Okay, a disabled elderly veterans family. While there with FEMA, the FEMA gentleman recommended the family remove Trump campaign materials and signs from their house and their yard, stating that his FEMA supervisors view Trump supporters as domestic terrorists. The elderly homeowners were so frightened by this and afraid that they would not recover their loss that they removed the Trump signs. Nevertheless, FEMA has not returned to their residence. This took place not in Florida, but in Georgia. You understand? This is multi-state now. Second of all, that was James Comer. Has a whistleblower that came forward and reported this. Second of all, the lady who was fired when caught, because she was texting and emailing all of her minions. I'm not saying that pejoratively, but that, for a better word, the people she was supervising in the field, she sent them at Lake Placid, where she was overseeing. She sent them messages, as you know, saying, avoid homes with Trump signs and all that stuff. So she came forward, as you know, and said it was not isolated. She said it was happening in North and South Carolina as well, not just where she was in Florida, and that senior FEMA leadership were aware of this. Now, would this surprise you in the Biden administration? No. Wouldn't surprise me. 18 Republican senators, along with Tom Tillis, so 19 total, sent FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell a letter Tuesday demanding she hand over all relevant communications. The senators also asked what FEMA did after it was made aware of Marnie Washington instructing her team to skip those homes, and if it is against the law for FEMA leadership to direct staff to skip homes based on political beliefs. That's a civil rights violation. FEMA's mission, in the letter the 19 U.S. senators sent, including John Cornyn, our senator. I don't know if Ted Cruz is on. I don't see it, but I'm sure he supports it. FEMA's mission, in the letter they write, is helping people before, during, and after disasters. FEMA is the option of last resort to help American families rebuild their lives in times of great distress and upheaval. I know, but do you remember when you and I had all those horrible winds that we had, those hurricane force winds? It wasn't a hurricane, but as you know, hurricane winds, I think, starts at 90 miles an hour and higher as a Category 1. And we had Cat 1 level winds for 20 minutes, sustained, not just a gust here or gust there. As you know, it was sustained for 20 minutes or so, which is insane for the great state of Texas unless you're in a hurricane. So when you and I had those, FEMA, I was in an area that got hit pretty badly. I told you I had a couple trees. One massive tree fell, and it did hit my house. Thankfully, it didn't destroy the house. It was cosmetic stuff, but other parts hit the top of the house and caused some punctures in the roof. But others had some serious things. In my own neighborhood, I think I sent some pictures on my social media for you to see. I mean, there were trees that are probably 8 foot in diameter, 10 foot in diameter that were on their side. You and I have seen these in our neighborhoods if you've been hit, right? And we didn't have power back in my neighborhood for a week. So FEMA sent something to me and asked, they texted me and this and that. So can you imagine with what little we saw, comparatively speaking, they're reaching out to you. You have nowhere to start. You have no power. You have no food. You have no water. You have no house. Maybe you didn't have flood insurance. And as you know, the people of North Carolina and the hills, why would they have flood insurance living in the hills if they're not at the bottom of the hill? So, and then this happens to you. It's vile and disgusting. And I want these people prosecuted. I want them federally prosecuted and sent to jail if convicted. What do you think? Do you think FEMA really did this all over our country and not just an isolated incident as they're claiming? I do. I really do. I think that Joe Biden is and the Democrat Party has become so hyper partisan and hateful, and look at us as trash, like Joe Biden said. We're garbage, or deplorables, like Hillary Clinton said. We're not worthy of getting help, even though it's our money that they're using, that we're paying them with. It's just as vile and disgusting and let them eat cake as you can think of. So do you think FEMA really did this all over our country and not just as an isolated incident? And what would you do if they came to you? This is a big one. What would you do if they came to you and said, remove the sign or we can't help you? What would you do? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. We got 4 lines open. 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Just thinking, I came up with the question thinking about you, like, what would you do, or I do, what would we do if they came to our door and told us, hi, we're with FEMA. They were obviously with FEMA. You saw all the badges in the cars or whatever, that it was obvious it was federal people. When they said, you got to remove those signs, what would you do? I would not. I would, if I had I don't think about hitting record and pulling my phone up, but that's what I would do. I would do that. And if they came to my door, that would be on my cameras, and would pick up the audio and everything anywhere around my house. So I would definitely say, well, you're on camera and I'm not moving anything. And and what I would do is go to the media, even if you're not, I'm in the media, but if you're not in the media, go to the media and reach out to everyone and tell them and do everything on social media and say, everybody's going to know about this and what's your name. And, you ain't going nowhere until I get your full name and I want to see your ID. And if you don't give it to me, I'll call police and we'll make sure we get your stuff. So you're going to give me everything right now. And that's what I would do. And I would call, I would call all the media, print, non-print, online, everything, and get it out there, let them chase the story. And then I would call my senator, my congressperson, every single level of everything, and social media, and do everything. Because as an American, even in your most suffering moment, that this is absolutely, of course you don't have a doorbell camera if your house has been wiped out, but with all your mind and being that's completely illegal. There's no way it's legal to federally say we're not helping you because of your political beliefs. That's insane. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to have a lot of fun. Is it possible that Kamala, with that $20 million or more in debt that she left her campaign, remember she burned through like $1.2 billion and still lost? Do you understand what that was? Like, how much is $1.2 billion? How much did she spend every day in 100 days? What did she spend, like $100 million a day, probably? I mean, this woman is the ultimate liberal's liberal, burning through everybody else's money and still losing. That is the liberal we all know. And that's Kamala Harris, and that's the Democrat Party of today. So I think I'm seeing a report that she was inspired by the Jake Paul fight, and that she might, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, she might be thinking about something in that realm, maybe to retire the debt of her campaign. I'll tell you about that report that I have here. We have a nice little story about a local woman saying she's leaving the U.S. over Trump's victory. And we have reports and video of Ellen DeGeneres, where she is with her wife or lover, whatever that Portia lady is, in her relationship. And then I got so much more. Does the White House still say that Trump's an existential threat? They were asked that today. What do they say? So much coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Okay, let's have a little bit of fun, too, because who likes to be all serious all the time? All right, to pay back $20 million campaign debt, the Babylon Bee is reporting that Kamala Harris has agreed to fight Jake Paul. Well, Mike Tyson got $20 million, and I mean, Kamala watched him fight. Who didn't watch that fight, right? Even the effeminate, what's Kamala's husband's name? What was Kamala's husband's name? Nobody remember. I don't remember his name. Doug Elman, Dougie. Doug Emhoff, he watched, I'm sure, with the hyper-effeminate floppy hands kicking around Governor of Minnesota Walz. I'm sure they watched together. And they were probably scared. They were probably frightened and clinging to each other, sipping their white wine while watching it. But Kamala saw that and says, well, I can fight. Look at him. He didn't even hit the guy. So, yeah, that's what the Babylon Bee is reporting. I don't know if it's true, obviously, but that's what they're saying. Meantime, a Texas woman is leaving the United States after Trump wins the election. This is real. This is from WFA TV Channel 8. A Fort Worth woman is leaving the country now. Jenna Lynn Sanchez has described herself as a mouthy liberal. Okay, that's great. We'll see you later. We'll miss your mouth. Not. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. Excuse my language. She is leaving for Holland and Spain. Personally, I've lost faith in the democratic process for sorting out the issues. Well, ma'am, I understand that. You're one of the wealthy ones. You're going to live in two foreign countries. You have a lot of money. Most of us don't. So that's why you feel that way. We understand. That's why you lost. You guys are done running the country with the small, wealthy folk. The main reason being movement of younger people and people of color towards Trump in an election when the economy was great. She says the economy's great. I love this woman. Yes. You really should leave. Holy crap, you're in the wrong country. That's great. Oh, I love this. That is as comical as it gets, isn't it? Let's read what else she says here to WFA TV Channel 8. She says the voters have really gone down a very dark path in which they celebrate rounding up the deportation of illegals who will mow my lawn, wash my dishes, and be my slaves. Oh, wait, she didn't say that. They were rounding up the illegals who we need desperately for our labor system, our slave class. It's Truth is stranger than fiction. She wants her slaves. So I don't feel good about my fellow Americans right now. Well, man, we can't afford even slaves at slave wages. You want to keep your massive money and you want to pay them crap and want them to be your slaves. We got it. Yes, it sucks. It sucks that we emancipated the slaves way back when. Your party didn't want to do that. Now you want to have a whole new slave class. We understand it, ma'am. You want to watch people hand wash your dishes. I understand. Thank you. Sorry. Didn't happen. Oh, so sorry. Oh, you were so close. So close. Ellen DeGeneres moved to Great Britain, as you know. She said she's never, quote unquote, coming back to the U.S. Aren't you going to miss her? She dyed her hair. She was at some pub. I saw the video. It was fleeting. Her Montecito mansion has been pocket listed. Of course, she doesn't want to sell it to just anybody. Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, it is her wife, okay, Portia de Rossi, have moved to rural England. Good luck. Now they can have their arguments and yell at each other and mistreat their staff in the middle of nowhere in England. They never will return to the U.S., telling friends of the election of Trump was their primary motivation. Yes! Yes! Hey, maybe you can have, what's her name as your neighbor? The lady from Fort Worth that's leaving. I can't believe she actually went on the news and said those things. That's so embarrassing, right? Even if you felt that, would you say that publicly? Wow. She's like, let them eat cake. Where are my slaves, girl? This economy rocks. Woo!